All right, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Seems like it's working. Hello, and welcome to another Audiomancy session with yours truly, Ginge, or Gingerloaf, however you usually see me on social media. And today, I'm going to stop this music really quick. Today, I'm actually planning to kind of take us through a little bit of my process for I guess taking some music that was written in one of the episodes of Lawful Stupid and sort of ripping it out and maybe cleaning it up, tidying it up just a little bit. And then if that doesn't fill up the space for us, I will do the usual at this point and convert over to working on the Honey Heist content. So anyway, quick introduction. As I said before, I am known as my name is Zach, but my moniker online is usually Ginger Gingerloaf. I do audio editing for the Lawful Stupid podcast. I edit all of their episodes, and a little bit more than that too. I create sound effects for them, and I create remixes for them, and I do an entire original soundtrack for the show. And just a real quick plug before we get started. If you don't know Lawful Stupid yet, you probably should give them a chance. You can go to lawfulstupid.org. It's a D&D live action podcast, and if you're into that sort of thing, you can find Lawful Stupid anywhere on all of the different podcast systems, or I guess they call them podcatchers on occasion. But wherever you consume that usual type of content, you can find it on there. Just do a search, it'll come up. But also you can join the communities that are wrapped around the Lawful Stupid podcast as well. If you're interested in joining the Discord, go to discord.lawfulstupid.org. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can also go to patreon.lawfulstupid.org, and you can decide on whatever level of contribution you're comfortable with. You can start at $1. You can end at 50. You can donate to your heart's content, or you can just consume the content and enjoy. I believe if you are one of the higher tier patrons, you get access to exclusive content, and also you get to hear the episodes live as they're recorded. The guys and girls, the crew, should I say, they sort of live stream it on a call. And anyone that has a high enough tier gets to actually jump on that call and watch their live interpretation, their live improvisation of each episode. So it's very entertaining. Highly recommend it. If you forget any of the various things I just tossed out, you can always just start again at lawfulstupid.org. All the information is there for you to find your way. Now with that, I guess I should also say for this particular stream, that if you haven't finished the Lawful Stupid content yet, meaning that the first campaign of Lawful Stupid ended, there was actually a live listening to the finale yesterday in the Discord. So if you haven't heard that yet, I would recommend. I'm really not going to spoil much for you, other than maybe the music. But I'll do my best to keep it secret, but I can't really guarantee that since I'm working with the source material here. So if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, this would be the time to duck out. You can revisit this maybe after you consume that content to protect yourself from being exposed to something you're not ready to be exposed to. Okay, so I guess first things I should do is, let's see if I can find the chat window here. Okay, looks like there is currently nobody chatting in. That is fine. This is supposed to be more of a on the side of the interactive type of stream. So if you have any inputs, if you want to learn something about audio, if you need me to help you solve a problem in your own podcast, or just advise you, or whatever you need, just let me know. I'm here to help, and we will make it happen. So, bet you like looking at that OBS screen there. You just see everything kind of doubled off. It's one of my favorite things to look at. Okay, So, with that being said, we can get started. So I actually have, I think in episode 35 and 36, I have a couple tracks actually in there that are sort of original pieces. I tend to do this, well, I guess just a lot, but um, for the most part, whenever I find a situation where I guess I know that there's not music that's easily found that meets a certain mood, meets a certain need, or something like that, I usually like to sort of just jump in and just build something really quick. It's okay for that music to actually be um, a little bit like a prototype, but but I sort of go in after the fact and polish it up because really, the music is a wonderful accent to everything else that's going on in the show, but it's not the primary accent. It's not the only thing that matters. So usually, you kind of do want it to be a second class citizen. You want it to underscore what the DM and the players are going through. You don't want it to take it over. You don't want to take it away from them. So it works really well for me because I can just prototype something simple to set the mood and set the tone, and then when I'm done, I can actually sort of rip that out and then sort of produce it individually without the podcast to evolve it as a tried and true standalone piece of music. So I know just because I did the edit on this, I know that this series of notes here is part of uh, a particular moment. Like I said, I'm going to try not to spoil anything for anybody, but I colored them all green to keep them isolated from everything else. I like to have things color coded. It helps me look at the screen and get an idea for what's going on. So yellow for me is voices, blue is music, pink, if you can zoom in far enough, pink is sound effects, and then when it comes to sort of custom music or custom sound effects, I really just keep them in different colors, but I'll group them if they're cohesive, and that really helps me, sort of block it out. Like I think there's more over here. These are all sort of tan. It's just a different chunk of music sitting over here by itself. So what I'm going to do is I figured this out a while back, and it's actually very helpful to my process. Is I can take I can sort of multi-select all these lanes, and I can take them all and sort of just copy them into a new project. So I think that's the thing that I actually want to do. And I don't need this little chunk, and I don't need this little chunk. These are actually sort of pieces of dressing that I put in to fit it into the show and fit it into like a scene change and a little bit of a contrast change. So I don't need those. I really just want the substance, like the meat in the middle of this. I want the primary notes and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and select everything I know I need. I'm gonna right click on it and do copy tracks and devices. Um, in case you're brand new to this stream, I use a software called Reason. That's what you're looking at right now. If you have any questions about Reason, feel free to ask. I am more than happy to answer. So I think, uh, let me just make sure really quick that I didn't in a fever dream actually go ahead and export this stuff out, because that might save me a little bit of time. All right, avert your eyes from my dirty hard drive organization, my folder structures. Let's see what we got here. There we go. Go to music, and this is oh nope, that's not what I want at all. Um, that was music from the lovely Scott Buckley. Which, if you run a podcast and you actually want some fantasy music, it seems like you can get his music, um, and it's really good. It sets a really good fantasy mood, and he has a lot of versatile music that can fit a lot of different situations. So let's see, music, soundtrack. Here we go. And look at this. This is all the stuff that has gone into the campaign one of Lawful Stupid. So let's see. I think I had a vague idea of what I wanted to do with the name of this. Let me just look through here and see if I can find it. I don't see it. Um, do do do. Don't think it's that one. Okay, I'm gonna just yeah. It doesn't even matter. I'll just make a duplicate if worst case scenario. Okay, so back to right click, copy tracks and devices. So this view we're looking at here with the sort of the timeline and everything. These are audio tracks. So what I'm telling it to do is copy all the track data, which is everything we see here. And then if I hit F6, these are all the devices, Reason devices. And Reason is very special in the sense that it sort of models everything after like real existing hardware. And so I have the ability to sort of just keep adding on to this like wooden rack and just popping modules in here, which is always just super amusing to me. So it not only copies the track data, but these are all these sort of teal colored objects, right? It's going to copy these devices. These devices have a lot to them, right? So I'm actually using what's called a VST plugin in all these, and I use Native Instruments, which is it's a pretty robust bundle of a lot of different types of instruments or whatever. I recommend it. However, I can't really I can't in good faith say go get it when it costs well over $1,000. So it's not exactly the most affordable solution. They do have some free packages, but I don't think you get a lot of the synths. I think they're just more utility like compressors and maximizers and stuff like that, which are still helpful and very, very, very useful and high quality and everything. I would recommend to go get that starter kit from Native Instruments if you really just want to see what it's about. But the real meat of it comes from like the complete package, or one of the slightly smaller packages, which is still like $500 or more. It's not a cheap set. I think I lost my mind. I went crazy and purchased it. But it has been a huge benefit to me. I've gotten so many good string and brass and woodwind like orchestral sort of sounds out of it, and I think it's honestly the very thing that empowered the entire soundtrack to the Lawful Stupid show. So without it, it would probably sound okay, but it would be a little less authentic than what we're currently hearing. So I'm very, very happy with the purchase. Anyway, so we're gonna get this track data, all the MIDI data. We're gonna get these devices, and we're gonna be able to just paste that directly into a brand new arrangement. So I just went to File, New. I'm over here, absolutely nothing in here, and I hit Control V. It's just gonna paste it right in. So here we go. This box that's going to be popping up. This is the VST plugin box as it loads all those external tools. Reason just sent out an email and announced the next version of their software. It's pretty neat. They have the ability for you to actually use Reason itself, this program, as a plugin into other audio software. So if you don't prefer Reason, which I've met a lot of people that don't, they like Ableton or Pro Tools or something like that, it actually allows you to use Reason inside your DAW, which stands for Digital Audio Workstation. So it's really neat. You can that means I would be able to sort of like make a certain sound or like a patch or something in Reason and then put it into a different workstation and have that same sound come out of it. I think it's pretty cool. So so what happened here though is the source song that I'm copying from was actually a lot larger than this song was. So you can see that the end marker here is just way ahead, and all of my data is here at the end. So what I usually do is I'll just hit Control A to select all, Control X to cut, and then I can get my playhead over here, Control V to paste, and now we are working in a normal sized arrangement. So I'm going to move the end marker out here, and I'm going to move the right marker out here. It doesn't look like we're looping anyway, so that's not really a big issue. And why doesn't this align to the very front of things? That hurts me in the OCD. I think I can nudge this. I'm hoping I can. This is gonna go well, or it's not gonna go well at all. I think that worked. Okay. So you can see in Reason it's probably really small, and hopefully it's not getting compressed by the live stream. But you can see the position here is very rigid. It's very perfect. It's very strict. It's sticking to this grid system. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. If you deviate from that a little bit, or if things get nudged slightly, you always run the risk of MIDI data not triggering and weird things like that happening. So, and when I refer to MIDI data, I'm referring to this, what we call kind of like a piano roll, right? MIDI data is what describes each note, the pitch of the note, the length of the note, the velocity of the note, and it's basically all the data that gets captured by real actual notes. And so you know, we have all this fun notation going on there. So let's see what I'm working with here. So I have it looks like I'm using 3 plugins from Native Instruments. And I have you can see down here, the interface for VST plugins is a little specialized because it's up to the external person that creates this plugin to develop how it works and what it looks like. It's not Reason's obligation at all. So Reason kind of just made this like one size fits all module where you can sort of capture a screenshot of it and see it in here to identify it, and then they have the text of what the module says is selected over here. So you can actually see the tool I'm using in Native Instruments is named Contact, and the currently selected sound or a module within that is Ensemble. And so this is actually some of my string or horn plugins. So it might get a little confusing past this point, because this is sort of a black box module that is the very boundary between Reason and Native Instruments. And then when I open Native Instruments, the complexity just goes up, because Native Instruments now has this Contact tool, which is sort of it's sort of like this rack, but it's Native Instruments version of it. So you can pick any of these little sounds, and you can put them in here and have them play. I typically just use one at a time. I don't use more than a single one, but you could put them together if you wanted to. If you wanted strings here, and you also wanted to put like woodwinds in here as well, and then they both get triggered when notes get pressed and stuff like that, you can sort of just play with this and really customize your sound. I tend to, since I'm running it primarily with Reason, I tend to sort of just make a track per instrument. It keeps things isolated. I'm not sure if there's like a CPU benefit to putting all these in one instance of Contact instead of several instances of Contact with one instrument, but maybe that's an experiment for another day. So yeah, so here I just happen to have the traditional Ensemble packet loaded. So if I open my computer keyboard here, and you know, you're probably thinking, well, all computer keyboards are keyboards, right? So Reason actually has a way to take the keys that you're pressing and convert them into actual piano or keyboard notes, right? So that's what this, whenever you see this little window pop up, that's what that actually means. That means I can hit like the F key and actually play notes. So this is really, really awesome because you don't have to deal with any sort of MIDI wire up. You don't have to deal with any sort of like MIDI latency or having the right driver, like an ASIO driver or anything like that. You just get to play and enjoy, and it's awesome. So I often go to this tool to do what I need. The only limitation obviously being that there's not as many keys as a keyboard, so you can't do like really broad strokes or like really far apart chords or anything like that. It's pretty limited, but it's usually good enough to get a prototype idea. So let's see what this sounds like. And I actually need to select. I notice it sounds like a piano. So I actually have the wrong instrument selected. I'm looking at this Ensemble, and I want that to be the one being played by Reason. So I'm gonna actually just click this little kind of like bookmarky thing here, and that tells Reason that I wish to play that module when I press keys. So it kind of didn't really like my polyphonic there. I was trying to play the harmonies, and it just kind of said nope. So that was weird. I don't really know why that's happening. I'd probably have to dig into that a little bit. Each module's different. They all have different rules about how that works. So that's what my string section sounds like, and I can just wire in notes and actually have that come out the other side. If we look at this other ensemble, let's go ahead and close the plugin for this first one, and then move this out. So it looks like we have the same plugin loaded, which it actually is somewhat inefficient, but not really a big deal. The reason I put it in a separate track is because I actually wanted it to be a tremolo sound. And tremolo, for anyone who doesn't really have a huge music theory background or an orchestra theory background, I guess tremolos exist in more than orchestra. What am I saying? But it's basically just sort of like quickly jostling between at least in orchestra, I guess you would take the bow and you would just sort of like rapidly brush it up and down against your strings, and it would create this if the whole orchestra is doing it, and obviously everyone's going to be sort of a little offset from each other. It's not supposed to be perfectly in sync. It's supposed to be a little bit kind of like a noise, just a bunch of noise actually, and it's really good for creating sort of suspenseful sounds, or it can work really well emotionally as well. But if you're like waiting on something and you just have something play a little tremolo note for a while, it actually builds up suspense, or gives you emotional benefit. So let's hear what that sounds like. And I just made the same mistake again. I need to tell Reason that I would like to play this second module instead of the first one. That's actually pretty quiet. I'm going to make that a little louder for you. And then I can, this green area is the current section of keys that are selected in Reason. I can actually make that go up an octave so that I'm playing higher notes. And I'm actually going to just jump another octave up here. You see how that sort of sounds like maybe if there was a lot going on and you heard that, it sounds a little suspenseful to me. At least that's what I know from normal cinematic composition. And I got some nice reverb on there so that it doesn't abruptly stop. You hear the sound sort of taper off into the distance, which is really, really nice. So this is a fairly simple song. It's meant to be emotional, and so I sort of have these building blocks. So let's learn from the past. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the little bookmark icon over here to make sure that I play this module next. This time, though, instead of the orchestra sound or the ensemble sound, I actually have this module called Hybrid Keys, which is really neat. And I recognize this layout actually in one of the different modules over here. It's something that Native Instruments reuses, but with different palettes of waves, so that you can get different types of textures out of it. What it does is it just takes this channel over here, A, and this channel over here, B, and it takes this sound, this audio clip, if you will, which is what I was referring to as a wave earlier, and then it sort of samples in various ways between these two channels to create some sort of textured output. And you have a bunch of knobs back here. You can see like a blend between the two. We've got normal envelope controls like sustain, release, and delay here actually isn't in reference to the envelope. It's actually delay the effect, meaning that you get sort of a repeat, like a echo, 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 echo. That's that kind of delay. And then it has reverb built in. It's just got a bunch of nifty things built in that give it a lot of power out of the box as just sort of a standalone tool. You can always, if you want to run reverb in your DAW like Reason, you can actually just crank that reverb knob to 0 and then pipe the output through your reverb to get whatever sound you're chasing after. But in this particular case, this was very close to what I was after. So let's hear it. So I felt like this had an enormous potential for just sort of emotional composition. And I don't know, it just has sort of it just by itself, it sort of just pulls at you. You can tell it's just reaching for your emotions and looking for something there that it can fiddle with. So it really captivated me as a module, and I used it, obviously. So without spoiling anything, I actually went in this particular part here. I was looking for something very emotional, and I wanted it to be sad, but also like emotional in sort of a positive sense, where you feel like even though something's sad, there's like a potential for it to spin into something very positive. And I think this really helped me get there. So I have no idea how this is going to be balanced out, and I'm not going to listen to the whole thing because once again, this is currently composed to be podcast appropriate, is not composed to be entertaining as a standalone piece of work. So really, I should probably just do myself a favor and kind of just cut this stuff out here. And then I think, if I remember correctly, we probably, so that's 2, 4, or maybe that's okay. I don't know. Let's just, I'm just gonna fiddle with knobs. I'm gonna do kind of a live mixing session, and just fiddle with things as it plays. And I have yet to hear from anyone about chat, and I'm not entirely sure if anyone is interested. Once again, as I said earlier, just kind of chime in and let me know if you have any questions. If you want to know anything about my setup, if you want to know how I'm doing this, if you want to know, I don't know. Well, just ask me the question if you think it, and I'll see where I go with it. So I'm actually going to go ahead and well, no, there's another song I want to get out of here, right? So let's do it. Let's do the little live session here. And I'm going to go ahead and set my loop just so that it will repeat. And then actually, for fairness, I'm going to go ahead and just put everything back to unity gain and right back in the middle of the stereo mix so that I can work on it live as we listen. So that actually wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I'm going to go ahead and just feed my habit of obsessively saving things so that I never lose content and that my my files get backed up. So that one, I'm not really sure. I'm just going to say like finale emotional for the time being. I will produce a better name later, I promise. So I actually liked a lot of what I was hearing there. I think the ensemble here was actually kind of a bit I don't know, robotic. It was a bit I mean it sounds really great, but it doesn't carry kind of the emotional value that I was searching, or not the emotional value, but um humanoid or human like qualities. I think that's the emotional human like qualities that I'm interested in. Hey, Kikar, thank you. Thank you. Kikar just dropped by and said, keep up the great work. So that's awesome. Love to hear it. Thank you, Kikar. That's awesome. Um, I would like to sort of just listen to this and maybe see if I can either convince myself that it is good or that I can, I guess, identify the solution. Okay, one thing I can actually think of here is I think I have a tendency when I'm composing to want to avoid ending a phrase on the same note that the next phrase begins. That may be just preference. Maybe there's some science to that I don't understand, but I think for right now, we'll just chalk it up to preference. Um, so this kind of goes da 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 da, and I actually want this to drop down into the lower register into boom boom. Oh, that was actually the same note. Da, 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 da. Oh, that's gonna be a note that's too low for me to sing, but it's the lower octave of whatever that is. So let's see if we can sort of just dress this up and make it sound a little better. So we can go. Maybe we can actually use the same note that we had over here in sort of an intermediate fashion. So let me go here. Nope, I didn't like that pattern. And it sort of helps get a better grasp on the rhythm here if you turn on the metronome down here. So let's do that. Okay, that wasn't exactly what I was after either. So I think I'm gonna have to stick to these sort of larger notes here, and I think oh no, this is in 4/4. For some reason I thought it was in 3/4, so I'm wrong. Where are we at in the scale here? That's half notes. So these are half notes, I guess. Okay. I don't know. Let me see. So sometimes it just involves playing with a melody until something sort of strikes you, right? And I think if I sort of just defer these little stair step notes towards the end, this just occurred in my head as I was listening to it again just now, and let this sort of play halfway into the next note to just sort of steal that quarter beat or that quarter rhythm, if these are half notes, then it sort of syncopates these two little stair steps, and syncopation just means you're sort of operating offbeat. Like like if I just do a note every quarter here, you'll just go ba 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 ba, And so you're actually on the one, right? It'd be like one, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and so if you're syncopated, that means you're definitely off that primary source of each measure. You're offbeat, right? So it'd be 1 E and 1 E and that kind of thing. And I don't know, something about syncopation just captures me. I like it. I do like syncopation a lot. You'll learn that I compose in sort of a minimalistic style. I'm not really one for like super complicated things, even though those can sound very beautiful and very thorough a lot, but it's just not me. So let's see what this sounds like. 1. So that was a little better. I can't say that I perfectly enjoyed every second of it, which is really not a lot of rhyme or reason for. It's just sort of like, hey, this is my preference. Of all the music I've consumed, of everything that has like emotionally touched me and I've enjoyed, for some reason that's just where my preferences come from. So I basically extended these back out to the length they were before, but they are sort of spanning. They're kind of crossing the beat boundary here. I'm not really sure how that's gonna go, but let's find out. That's kind of what I expected, because we sort of broke rhythm here by having this like almost chronological walk up over the boundary of a measure. So maybe we just cut out one of these notes entirely and just keep it simple. Nope. Let's move that up. Let's see what it sounds like. Okay, well, I don't know if I'm gonna sit and fiddle with this thing for the rest of eternity, because I could probably do that. Maybe I should just work on sort of wrapping this and exporting it out. Let's hear what that part sounds like after the first phrase and with the accompaniment. And without the metronome. You know what? Maybe I was just entirely wrong about this whole thing. Welcome to Music Composition, everybody. I guess I don't hate it that much. Certainly worked better than anything else we tried. So I actually want to take these bass notes of the piano because they're very powerful. They're very impactful with everything else that's going on, and I want to let it ring out at the end there. So let me just replay this and remember what the soundscape was like. Okay, we would resolve then. Nope. There we go. And I'm actually, you know what? I actually like it like that. Okay, let's hear it. So something we can do, and it's a lot easier to do if you have a real, if you have a real team that's playing this music for you, and you have a proper director, and everything like that. It is you can sort of emphasize a little bit of that ending by using what's called a fermata, and a fermata, which I've always thought in sheet music it kind of looked like a bird's eye. Um, Let me see if I can actually get MS Paint. Okay. Let me get a little bit of a better brush there. So it's kind of just like this like crescent moon shape, but tipped over, and then this little dot in the middle. And that ends up above your music. You've got your grand staff, and you got your notes in here, right? Here we go. Cartoon drawings with Ginge, everybody. So this this note right here, which I actually intend to be more of a quarter note than a half note. Anyone who actually knows sheet music will know why I'm making this distinction. Then normally in time, a 4/4 song or whatever, you would just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you would just count rhythm past this measure, right? But with the fermata, it gives your director, or I guess whoever's controlling your group or your music or whatever, which would normally be the director, they can sort of halt everything, and let it just sort of hold. And then you usually, at least with the training I got, if there's a fermata, you would usually hold that note and then look up at the director, and the director would use their hands and communicate with the entire orchestra all at one time. And then they would use their hands to sort of go up and then down, so that we all in unison would complete the note. And it's this really cool, powerful kind of like super move that the director has, where they can just make a note last forever, and then they can just bring it all back down. So I kind of am looking for something like that. I think I'm also going to, or I might actually be able to achieve it entirely just by adjusting the tempo here. So something that's cool in Reason. I'm sure everything else can do this. I'm not trying to fire shots here to different DAWs. But something I really like is you can just right click on the tempo here, and you can say Edit Automation, and now we get this sort of transport tempo automation lane. And we can draw in somehow, if I hold the right button, we can actually draw in a automated tempo change over time, which is real cool. So we can force this to be 120, because I don't want. So basically, the way automation works in Unity, right, is there's like a default value. That's this line in the back, which is set to 120. And so for every place where this block isn't rendered, it's just going to fall to the default of 120. As soon as you draw one of these blocks in, that's you saying that you want to override that value. So we have a block here, and I don't want it to actually sound like it immediately jumps anywhere on the timeline. I want it to just be right at 120 beats per minute, just like it was before. And then I want it to sort of just gradually sort of decrease down at the end here. And then whenever we should I bring it to 0? Oh, it only lets you go to 1. That's super slow. Maybe we'll want to go to something like 45. And then I want to bring it back up to 120, I guess, to resolve. So let's give that a listen and see what that sounds like. And without the metronome, although that would be helpful. Maybe if you're interested, just let me know and I'll play it with the metronome. So that was a little bit too long for my liking. It was just a little too long. So I just want it to be like at the end, right? Let's see what this sounds like. That sounded good. I like that. I like what just happened. That was good. So it's almost like I have a real director reason as being my director telling everything else to slow down. So something I really would like here at the end too, just to sort of taper this transition from full sound to just about nothing left, is sort of like a cymbal swell, like an orchestral cymbal swell. Um, and I'm not sure if I have a really good one of those just lying around. This is one of the parts where I might actually have to do a little bit of digging to find it. But the first thing I'm going to go to, as usual, is I'm going to go to Native Instruments Contact, and I'm going to go to my percussion library for symphonic percussion. I do see cymbals here, but I don't want to pick that specifically, just in case it's somewhat limiting. They have a kit that's usually means that they have sort of like everything all together in one package. So here we go. So you'll notice I have the little bookmark icon on this new module, so I know that's going to be played from my keyboard. Usually, what I like to do is bring up the QWERTY keyboard to piano keyboard tool here, and then just sort of toy with everything and see what it's like. So I want that to go away. Okay, so now I can see these keys, right? So that's not too far from what I'm after. I can also just click on here. So I don't hear anything that sounds like sounds right for me. I wanted more of something that would actually like build up and then release at the end. So actually there is one more place I can check in here. It's in a different audio library here. There's a tool that I really love in Native Instruments. It's called Rise and Hit. And I think it's just excellent for transition work. And I guess it's kind of a simple tool, but all it does is take, similar to the piano tool that we looked at earlier that has a side and a B side, and it just sort of blends between them. It does a similar thing here. Like I have the antipodes, pods or pods, I'm not sure, whatever that is on the left side, and then again here with the different type of it with the letter A, whatever the difference is there, I don't know. And it sort of just blends between them, but not through the whole thing. It doesn't just blend everything that they are. What it does is it plays the first one and kind of builds up into the second one, crossfades in the middle, and then plays the second clip to basically release everything. And you have some control over how that works, right? You can take this time. You have a rise time over here, right? So you can actually change the amount that it rises for. To like 12 beats or something like that. So let's hear what just like a 4-beat rise of this default sound is like by using the keyboard. And you can see these controls down here. They kind of give you some information as well. Watch as I play it. Watch what happens. Cool. So you have a volume control, which is really neat. I can like crank this guy up. And that was really weird sounding because the second half was quiet. And then you can sort of just fudge with this offset here. So it's cool. It's just, I don't know, it's just flexible, and it gives you a nice little customizable transition. Yeah. So then you can say, I would like it for 12, and let's hear that. So sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes you want to build a lot of suspense. So I think this is pretty neat. So what I'm going to do is actually just click this magnifying glass so that I can go to this search window. And I'm going to search for something that just sort of makes sense, I guess, right? Let's see if I have... orchestral percussion. That sounds like the right place to be. Pimped drums. Okay, I need to know what that is. That's pretty cool. Oh, something else you can do in here is it with these yellow keys, I think. It'll actually just play the second half only. So that's, I don't know, nice little bit of flexibility. Okay, I want cymbal. We got some soft grand, bass drum, timpani. Oh, timpanis are so cool. I gotta hear this. Sorry. That's real good. I like that. That's cool. Okay. I'm also sort of learning about all this stuff. These libraries are so dense that I just can't I can't really just know everything about it after the small amount of time that I've had exposure to it. So I'm learning as I go too. It's really nice to try these out and just make sure that I like the sound, so I know where to go whenever I need that particular sound. Cymbals. There we go. We got 3 cymbals forte, one F or one lowercase f for forte, which just means loud. There we go. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. I'm not really sure how that's going to work with the tempo change that I put in, but I am very, very interested in figuring that out. What I'm going to do, because sometimes it can be just a tad difficult to line this thing up, I'm actually going to line it up outside of the tempo change and get it working there on beat where I know it's doing what it should, and then I'll move it in. Okay, so that's it. Boom. Oops, didn't mean to extend that MIDI clip. So let's see when that happened. It happened right in the middle of this clip, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So nice. So that means I can use the middle of this clip as the sort of the, or at least two bars here as a way to indicate that it'll be swelling at the what do you call it? The climax. There we go. And I want that to be right on this transition so that it's at the loudest point and then it tapers off after that. And I think I'm going to extend this note just a tad so that I don't stop. Sometimes if you're playing a MIDI note for something like that and you stop playing it, you'll get this sudden shut off in sound. And sometimes that's what you want, sometimes it's not. Actually, I think I recall, if you'll bear with me, I think I recall having latch mode. There we go. So basically in latch mode, instead of holding the key, it just plays the whole thing, which sounds great to me. That way I don't have to worry about the length of the clip. I just need to align that centerpiece and I am good to go. So let's hear what this all sounds like. It's probably not going to sound great out of the box because I haven't properly mixed this channel in with everything else, nor have I actually put you know what? None of my reverbs actually came through. Now that I look at this, send effects layout, I think that's fine. Maybe I'll just sort of improvise there as well. I'll just turn those off and improvise. I mean, there are reverbs in each of those modules, so maybe I don't need it. But for this, for the rise and hit, I might actually need it. Okay, so what happened there was Native Instruments decided not to obey our tempo change, which is fine. You're building a third-party module. It's not necessarily the first thing on your mind to support every feature and every DAW in existence. So I think the way I'm going to get around that is I'm going to use a nifty feature in Reason. I'm going to just record it or bounce it to an audio clip, right? So I'm going to actually just take the maybe a little longer than the end just in case it takes a while for that sound and any other reverbs or anything like that to taper off to 0. And I'm going to just bounce this thing to a different track. So I think now that I have my loop marker set up correctly, I can go to File, Bounce Mixer Channels. We'll select Rise and Hit, not the master section. I just want Rise and Hit, this one lane. And then I'm going to do Loop, so it goes in between the left and right markers. And I'm going to do New Tracks and Song, mute the original. That sounds fine. And we want... I'm just going to apply no effects to it because I haven't really done anything super special to it just yet. So let's go. Okay, boom. It'll take a second. Unity's going to do its little audio processing dance. Doop-a-doop-doop-doop-doop-doop. Okay, and then now we have... Oh, it might not have been done because I got a little bit of sound in my headphone after that was done. But let's hear it. Let's see what it sounds like. I'm just going to solo this channel. Nice. So now we have that as an audio clip that we have basically rendered from this this MIDI data from the third-party tool that we're using, right? And what I'm going to do is just move it right back over here, and you can note it. You actually can see the climax now. This is one of the great benefits to bouncing to a different track in an audio clip, is you get to see what the final output, the final waveform looks like. So it swells to its peak right there. And I think it should sound okay. We're getting, there might be a sample rate issue, but we have to listen to it to figure that out. So yeah, there was a sample rate issue. It sounded a little weird and compressed. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I did. Does not sound good. So maybe so I can either slow down my tempo here, which I don't really want to do. I think it sounds nice as it is, or I can actually bail on this approach, which I'm obviously favoring as a solution. And what I'm going to do is see if I just move this a measure ahead, maybe it will line up. Let's see what it sounds like. And it helps when you don't have it muted. Let's try that again. Why did that not play? I have it muted in more than one place. Great. Lovely. Again. You're kidding me. Why did that not play? I'm pretty sure that should have played. Is it actually trying to like downsample? I'm just gonna play with this until I get it right. So close. I think one of the problems I'm actually having is that latch mode. I think it's, yeah, see, it wasn't even finished. There's this huge tail at the end of this thing. So at least until I get it figured out, I'm going to remove latch mode. So this might not actually be something that I'm gonna get the best results out of synchronized to that grid. I'm gonna just scooch it forward. I turned off snap mode, which prevents it from snapping to these beats, and lets me move it around a little more organically. So let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, so it's lined up now, which is great, but it still sounds a bit muddy. And so here's a fun thing. This might actually work for us. I would like to use reverb to see if I can sort of take that rigid sound and smooth it out just a little bit. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use the good old Unity, or not Unity. Not doing game development right now. Use the Reason. There we go. The Reason convolution reverb that's built in, and I'm going to actually wire that through the master channel here as a send effects channel. And so effectively, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong about anything that I talk about, I would love for people to communicate with me about that stuff. If I get something wrong, please let me know. I'm all about helping you guys improve while improving myself based on feedback from you or things that we encounter together. So just let me know if something seems inconsistent. We'll talk about it. We'll deal with it. Everything will be great. So to my knowledge, what this does is it's basically creating a parallel channel. So my mixer here is just super robust, and it has the ability to, when I turn on one of these effects, like let's say for Rise and Hit, I want the reverb sound in there. So I can turn it on by clicking this blue button. Now reverb is on. But what happened there is I just turned on what's basically a duplicate of this channel. It's just sort of secretly hidden. And they're playing at the same time. And the second channel, the duplicate or the parallel channel, that every single time the program is processing that signal, what's going to happen is it's going to take that signal, it's going to pump it out this send cable, right? This patch cable. It's going to go into my module, my reverb module. It's going to get processed, which is going to add reverb. And then it's going to take the result of that after processing, and it's going to pump it out of this sorry, for some reason my mind just blanked. It's going to pump the signal back out of this reverb and back into the main mixer. It has to go back into channel 1, right? Because it's coming from channel 1. It should go into channel 1. Otherwise, you're going to get weird, inconsistent results. And the signal that goes back into this main master section part of my mixer will carry my new modified effects. So now when you go back over here, right, you have a knob, which is the level, and that's effectively kind of like the gain here on this track, but for the parallel channel. So if I have it all the way down, you won't hear anything. If I have it all the way up, you might hear nothing but that channel, depending on what type of effect you're layering on. So we can talk a little more in the future, maybe about parallel channels. It's not something that comes up too often on podcast editing, but is very common in the music and composition world. So that's basically what's happening here, right? So it's like playing this twice. We get the raw, untouched signal coming from the channel, but we also get a duplicate of that's getting processed and coming back in and getting layered on top of the raw signal. Both of those are being played at the same time to produce the final sound of my channel, or this channel in my mixer named Rise and Hit. So with that being said, now that I have put in this reverb, and I'll probably have to tweak it a little bit to get it to my liking, I can now that it's turned on, I can mess with this level and mess with the settings on the filter or reverb, and get them to, sound the way that I prefer. So let's see what this all sounds like. I think I'm going to just go ahead and set the loops there, and we have looping mode turned on, which means that my playhead will bounce between my left and right markers indefinitely. Let's just let it play and see what we can do. So it's still not perfect. It actually is a lot better than it was before if we listen to it, right? And then if we go and turn off these sound effects, let's see what it sounded like. Maybe I was delusional. I didn't hear much of a difference there. Tell you what, instead of doing it as a parallel channel, we're going to now improvise again. If you haven't got the idea this far in, that's actually a pretty frequent thing to do while you're producing music. And I did not want that to auto-wire up. No thank you, Reason. Why are you doing that to me? Oh, no. Nope. Nope. I want it to be just directly into that channel. Cool. And so what I'm going to do is actually just put this effect into the Rise and Hit channel. It's kind of a similar idea. The only difference here is that we're not operating as a parallel channel this time. We're actually just taking a single channel. Every moment that playhead moves forward and it's trying to figure out what this sounds like, it will send that signal into this module, out from the module back into the channel, and you'll get the final modified result. When we had the parallel channels, we had the raw sound layered with the reverb sound. And so there's a possibility that if that raw sound sort of sounded still a little unclean or something like that, maybe it would shine through in that parallel formation. But this time, the only thing that we're going to get is that sort of reverby sound. And we can actually control how much of the signal sounds like the original and how much of it sounds like the reverb layered version of it by this dry wet knob. Wet usually just means that it's fully saturated with the effect. Dry means it's not being touched by the effect at all, and you get to balance between those two. So let's see what we can do. Much better. That was way better. So you can actually barely hear any of the imperfections that were in there doing it this way. And I can actually demonstrate that pretty well by doing sort of an A-B flip between this module being on and it being off using this nice little like physically modeled power switch here. I'm going to switch it to bypass to basically have the signal go into this and come out exactly the same way that it went in. That's what bypass means. And then I'm going to turn it back on for you to hear the final result. So let's start with it off in bypass mode. So I don't know about you, but I think that sounds way, way better. So I can actually collapse that, and that's just a property of that channel for the rest of time. And now we can listen to it and see what we think about the situation. Or we can just turn mute on once again. I think this happens to me all the time. Perfect. And I actually think that ending, I would like it if it actually just went just a tad longer. So maybe we can extend that tempo transition as long as it doesn't make anything sound weird. Awesome. Okay, so there's usually a lot of other things that I will do before this track actually goes out to the public, and some of those things actually do correlate to doing podcast work as well. There's always this challenge for um, maximization. There's this challenge for making sure that a song is loud enough because it may sound really good as it is right now, but if we sort of look at, I guess I'll play over here. Look at the volume that we're pushing as far as like a final decibel level. It's not much. So you can actually see in this big meter thing that I often use to sort of gauge my final output. Sometimes these meters aren't things that you can trust, and you really have to know peak and VU or whatever measurement you're using very well. I have other tools that will actually tell me more information than this, but that's maybe a lesson for another day. Um, but really, I sort of just try to um, get to peak zero, just below peak zero, really. You don't want to get too close because the more you like sort of straddle the boundary of maximum volume, the more risk you run of having audio clipping. If something just happens to fall out of, or like, I don't know, just like a kick drum hits at the wrong time and it just happens to push everything over just that much to give you a little bit of that gross audio clipping sound, which we all really should strive to not be getting close to. But you also know that no, you might notice if I played it again, there's these little yellow bars that show up over here, and what those are showing me is they're showing me sort of the peak, like the max that a bar ever reached. And what I really want is or strive to do is I try to get the green as close to just below zero as possible, and so we're missing a lot there. We're not even anywhere in that ballpark. And so the challenge often ends up being how do you sort of push the volume without losing quality or fidelity in your music? And then also, I would also say if you're struggling too much to get it where you want, and you're having to like consider these sacrifices to the quality of the mix or anything like that, maybe just work on getting as good of a mix as possible. It's always important to have your mix as good as possible, which means that basically the battle at this stage, make sure that at any volume, everything in relation to everything else sounds very clear and doesn't get sort of muddied up or lost in the mix or anything like that. Like, make sure that everything is clear. Make sure you don't have anything that's too overpowering or whatever. And even if that's quiet, you can actually send it off to several services nowadays to have a mastering engineer take your mix after your mix is solid and it's perfect, and they will be the ones that with the know-how and the tools to actually take that thing and just pump the maximum volume out of it. Um, so I think with all that being said, I'm not really going to go into the mastering or the loudness phase of the production of this song, but I think this is where I want it to be. I might actually end up looping it again and maybe fading it out at the end or something like that, instead of just having it abruptly stop. I'm not really sure what yet. This seems like a decent ending that I produced on this live stream, but I really it's this long equation of how often I listen to it, or I just put it like this on my SoundCloud and listen to it in my car, listen to it in my headphones, listen to it at work, just nonstop. And then I will find little bitty imperfections that I want to fix and things like that the more I listen to it. So I just sort of just drive myself insane, and it just lands somewhere on the spectrum of perfection. Um, that's how I operate, I guess. Anyway, so I think I'm gonna actually just shut down a little early tonight. Usually I've been streaming for 2 hours. That wasn't intentional. I just I love what I do and get lost in the details, right? So I didn't see as many people around this time, which is fine. But just in case you missed it, or maybe you had something going on tonight, you couldn't be around. Just remember, I'm always gonna be available in the Discord, right? At discord.lawfulstupid.org. And you can always find me there. And the hashtag Audiomancer, I think it's Audiomancer, right? Yes, hashtag Audiomancer channel. Um, you can always find me there, and I will absolutely answer any sort of audio questions you have. If you're stumped with a podcast editing question, or if you need advice on creating a sound effect, or you're just picking music for your show, or maybe you want to figure out how to balance the music in and make everything sound fine. I mean, I've gone through all those challenges enough, um, that whether or not I am a good person that's credible enough to give you those answers, I think I have some sort of perspective into the situation that I can provide that will help improve your skills. So just feel free to ask. Um, and obviously, please come join the Discord. It's a wonderful community, lots of great people. I love them all dearly. They love everyone else on the Discord just as dearly, and it's just a wonderful place to be. And so I also, one more shameless plug. I recommend that you go check out lawfulstupid.patreon.com or .org. Sorry, it's patreon.lawfulstupid.org. I encourage you to go check it out, and sort of just read up on what the missions are, read up on the people, read up on the goals, and just see what you think. And if you feel so compelled to do so, maybe you can convert into a $1 patron and get access to certain features, and or maybe you just want to listen to the podcast every time. That's also perfectly fine. I will make a quick shout out. As I said at the beginning, campaign 1 is done. We just wrapped that. The finale and everything is all up. You can now officially listen to the entire content of campaign 1 if you want to, from start to finish. And we have a second campaign ramping up that will be coming out shortly. And it is a seafaring adventure that involves pirates. So if you're into that sort of thing, I highly recommend that you jump in early and become part of this at the beginning, and just follow the campaign, follow the story, follow the characters, and just enjoy it and consume it. With that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I look forward to the next time that we do Audiomancy with Ging.